Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. Today we are talking all about AI in markets. We have the Fed chair talking about it, we're in the middle of earnings season, and all of that is of course contributing to more AI bubble talk. And late last night we got the news that hot on the heels of their for-profit conversion, OpenAI is starting to prepare for a $1 trillion IPO, which would make it one of the largest IPOs of all time. The news came on Wednesday evening and was broken by Reuters, citing 3 sources familiar with the matter. Reuters reported that OpenAI was considering filing the relevant paperwork either in the second half of next year or, more likely at this point, in early 2027. The sources said that preliminary discussions had the company raising at least $60 billion and likely much more. Those sources cautioned that these are very early-stage talks, so the numbers and timing could change based on the company's growth in the market. An official spokesperson downplayed the news but didn't deny it. An IPO is not our focus, so we could not possibly have set a date. We are building a durable business and advancing our mission so everyone benefits from AGI. In my strong estimation, based on the reading of these reports, I think it's quite clear that OpenAI knows that they need to go public to access that capital pool, not just for themselves, but for this increasingly dense network of deals around them. Indeed, as we think about takeaways from this news, one of them is that this was completely inevitable given how fast the company has been exhausting potential sources of capital. At the end of last year, their raises were starting to tap out of the venture ecosystem, leading Sam Altman to go look farther afield to wealth funds in the Middle East. This year, their major deal was with SoftBank, and that $30 billion raise seemed to stretch Masa's son to his absolute limit. OpenAI expects to burn $8.5 billion this year, and that doesn't seem to include a lot of their infrastructure capex. The company will likely need to burn through all of the $40 billion they raised this year to fund operations and their ambitious infrastructure build-out. They'll almost certainly be able to raise more money in the private markets to get them through next year, but if they need to start raising money in $50 or $60 billion chunks, then the public markets are the only way to access that kind of capital. Sam Altman even acknowledged this during the live stream about the for-profit conversion on Tuesday, stating, "I think it's fair to say it is the most likely path for us given the capital needs that we'll have." Now, this is not going to be a normal IPO by any stretch of the imagination. There are currently 11 companies in the entire world worth $1 trillion or more. Berkshire Hathaway makes the cut, but JP Morgan Chase, Walmart, and Tencent are all below the threshold. In other words, OpenAI will enter markets as one of the largest companies in history. For comparable IPOs, there's really only Saudi Aramco, which debuted at $2 trillion in 2019. They only raised $25 billion, and that remains the largest ever public fundraising. While OpenAI looks set to attempt an IPO at almost 3 times as large, it's pretty difficult to imagine that they'll struggle raising that much money. Holding aside the mass of retail investors, the stock is going to be on the buy list for every major institution, pension fund, and ETF in the world. Now, outside of the obvious importance for OpenAI, I think this is incredibly important for the larger AI industry and just to recalibrate expectations of the relationship between retail investors and public markets. While it's not the only reason or even the top reason that people have fallen out of love with tech, the fact that companies have decided to stay private longer and longer, accessing Series G, HK, LMNOP type rounds that were never available before, has structurally blocked out retail investors from participating in the incredible wealth creation of technology over the last decade and a half. That's not to say that if people could have had access to these companies, they wouldn't still have issues with the way social media has divided and fractured us, or any of the other numerous issues that have come along with the modern technology paradigm, but it certainly isn't helping. We're in a moment where sentiment is turning against the AI labs and the AI industry more broadly. And as every story comes of OpenAI going from a $29 billion valuation at the beginning of 2024 to a $500 billion valuation now, even retail investors who are completely sold on the theme were blocked out of participation. The biggest AI IPO has been CoreWeave, and that's certainly not a pure play on frontier AI models. So sure, if you've been in Nvidia, Oracle, or Broadcom, it's good for you, but that's not broad-based participation in this key theme. Putting OpenAI and the other companies that should follow its lead into pension funds and retirement accounts gives people and society more broadly a lot more buy-in as the technology develops and wealth gets created. Maybe to put it more simply, and at the risk of getting a little more political than the show normally goes, you better believe that with where public sentiment is and the disillusionment with capitalism that is starting to run rampant, there is going to be some sort of wealth redistribution that happens over the next decade. I don't know about you, but for me, I'd love to see some meaningful part of that be in the form of people having access to the equity upside of these transformational companies. So my vote, OpenAI, Sammy A, if you're listening, get public and do it fast. You're already dealing with the entire world watching your every move and yelling at you anyway. You might as well get the funding benefits that could come alongside that. Let's move on to some other parts of the market conversation, though, from yesterday. This week saw the Federal Reserve's FOMC meeting and the subsequent press conference, and during that press conference, Fed Chair Jerome Powell talked a little bit more than he has so far about the state of AI. Comparing it to the dot-com bubble, Powell said, "I won't go into particular names, but they have actual earnings. These companies actually have business models and profits and that kind of thing, so it's a really different thing." Now, the press seemed to be looking to get Powell to signal that the AI build-out had gotten way out of control, basically questioning whether the Fed should raise rates to cut off excessive AI spending. Powell tamped down on that pretty quickly, saying, "I don't think interest rates are an important part of the AI or data center story. It's based on longer-run assessments that this is an area where there's going to be a lot of investment, and that's going to drive higher productivity." He also noted that it isn't his job to weigh in on the stock market, commenting, "We don't look at any one asset price and say, hey, that's wrong. It's not our job to do that. We look at the overall financial system and ask if it's stable and whether it can withstand shocks." To that point, he noted that banks are well capitalized, there's not much leverage in the financial system, and that it's, in his words, not an overly troubling picture. In other words, Meta and Microsoft can drop hard on disappointing earnings, as we'll see, and it turns out the financial system won't come to an end. Now, before we get into Meta and Microsoft, we have to talk about the world's first $5 trillion company, Nvidia. On Tuesday, Nvidia had a ton of new announcements at their developer conference. Jensen Huang unveiled a new networking solution to scale up quantum supercomputers, a deal to build 7 new supercomputers for the US Department of Energy, and huge new partnerships with Samsung, Uber, Hyundai, and Nokia. Bloomberg suggested that the long list of new partners was intended to dispel fears that the AI bubble is bursting. Frankly, though, even more so than new business, one of the most striking reveals at the event was just how hot Nvidia's core business remains. Huang boasted that his company has $500 billion in backlogged orders for their latest generation of AI chips. That backlog will run all the way through into 2026. In other words, Nvidia doesn't need to do anything other than deliver on their core product to have one of the most successful years in global corporate history next year. Nvidia's previous best was $130 billion in revenue for their fiscal year of 2025, which ended in January. Wall Street's lofty forecasts were only expecting $380 billion in revenue through to the end of next year, so there's potential for a 30% outperformance. Huang told the assembled crowd, "We have now reached our virtuous cycle, our inflection point." He said that Nvidia expects to ship 20 million Blackwell chips, 5 times as many units as the entire run of Hopper architecture that began in 2022. Battling the narrative in a Bloomberg interview following his keynote, Huang said, "I don't believe we're in an AI bubble. All of these different AI models we're using plenty of services and paying happily to do it. And for the bubble watchers out there, this has to be an important part of the conversation. Despite a $100 billion round-trip deal with OpenAI, Nvidia still has multiples of that in customers paying in cash." All in all, the stock was up 5% on Tuesday and is now up 9% on the week, making the company the first ever to reach $5 trillion in market cap, which makes them larger than the GDP of every country in the world now except the US and China. Wedbush analyst Dan Ives remarked, "Nvidia's chips remain the new oil or gold in this world for the tech ecosystem, and there's only one chip in the world fueling this AI revolution, and it's Nvidia." Now, what about the hyperscaler earnings? We got earnings reports from Alphabet/Google, Meta, and Microsoft, and Bloomberg TV's Caroline Hyde summed it up like this. Microsoft, revenue beat, cloud growth beat, CapEx hiked, stock lower. Meta, revenue beat, net income hit by tax charge, CapEx to be hiked, stock lower. Google, revenue beat, cloud growth beat, CapEx hiked, stock higher. Let's talk about Google first. As you just heard, the company reported a massive beat. They recorded their first ever $100 billion quarter in revenue, up 16% year over year. Google Cloud revenue was up 34% compared to last year, reaching $15 billion. Ad revenue rose 12.6% to reach $74 billion. This extremely strong result allowed Google to boost their CapEx forecast with confidence, raising this year's spend to between $91 and $93 billion. Said CEO Sundar Pichai, "We're investing to meet customer demand and capitalize on the growing opportunities across the company." Separately, we got another indication of the massive growth in use of Google Gemini, whereas between March and July of this year, monthly active users grew from 350 million to 450 million. Between July and October, monthly active users jumped from 450 million to 650 million, a massive shift up. They also saw daily requests increase 3x quarter over quarter. Part of what market analysts are starting to note is that some of the early narratives just aren't coming true. Matt Stuckey, the chief portfolio manager at Northwestern Mutual, said, "Continued strength in search is helping to dispel the negative sentiment surrounding AI's potential impact on Google's biggest businesses." Overall, Google stock was up 6.5% in extended trading. Meta and Microsoft had a bit of a tougher day. Meta reported a $15.9 billion income tax bill following law changes implemented in July. That wiped out almost all of their net profit of $18.6 billion. Revenue was a slight beat compared to forecasts, coming in at $51 billion. Still, for investors, the big headline was that Meta are once again accelerating their AI infrastructure spending. For this year, they raised their guidance from between $66 and $72 billion to between $70 and $72 billion. Next year didn't have a number attached, but they guided a significant increase. Mark Zuckerberg told investors, "There's a range of timelines for when people think that we're going to get superintelligence. I think that it's the right strategy to aggressively front-load building capacity, so that way we're prepared for the most optimistic cases." Still, aside from unclear timelines, another problem for Meta is that their ability to demonstrate a return on all this AI spending is a little bit murkier than, for example, the cloud revenue that someone like Google can report. Meta continues to claim that growth in advertising revenue is due to AI, but it's a little bit blurrier, and in general, that growth is softening as well. The story from Microsoft's earnings was that despite record spending on data centers, the company is still capacity constrained. The Azure division performed well, growing at 39% year over year, which slightly beat Wall Street forecasts, but Microsoft spent $34.9 billion on CapEx last quarter, up from around $10 billion the previous quarter, and still can't seem to catch up with demand. Microsoft CFO Amy Hood, who is known for her capital discipline, didn't seem to have a plan to address this issue. She didn't offer a specific forecast for CapEx next quarter or next year, simply stating the company's spend would, quote, increase sequentially, and we now expect the fiscal year 2026 growth rate to be higher than fiscal year 2025. Both Meta and Microsoft fell in after-hours trading, with Meta diving by 8% and Microsoft losing 4%. The name of the game for hyperscalers is now marrying CapEx and ROI. One of the ways to interpret what happened yesterday was that Meta was punished for failing to show ROI, and Microsoft was punished for failing to do enough CapEx. Google, meanwhile, ticked both boxes and the stock soared. David Lefkowitz, the head of U.S. equities at UBS Global Wealth, said, "The market is willing at a minimum to take a longer-term perspective right now. We're in this period where the market is rewarding CapEx. Traditionally, the market has been skeptical of that. On the flip side, as we're seeing, it does really need to be paired with real performance." Today is not a bubble show day, but whatever you think about whether we are or are not in a bubble, if you are someone who is concerned that it might turn into a bubble, I think the Meta results in specific should be encouraging. While investors are clearly incredibly excited about the future, they do want to see that even now, early on, there is some return on investment, or at least that there is a clear path to ROI. Now we'll see how that holds, but for now, a very interesting demonstration of where things are at the moment. That's going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Appreciate you listening or watching as always, and until next time, peace